Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reimagine 2020 V2. I'm Roshan Mirajkar, the University Program Assistant Director here at MouseBelt, and I'm very excited to be here with the guest today. I have Hunter Albright. He's an entrepreneur and educator at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Hunter, why don't we get started with letting everyone know your background and how you're involved in the industry right now?
Would be happy to. So first of all, Roshan, super excited to be here and thank you for having me. I got into blockchain and cryptocurrency back in about 2017. Originally I got my PhD in systems engineering back in the 90s. And my research at the time was in algorithms and AI and machine learning. And so I've been involved in the space of a technical space since then. In fact, most of my career has been in the payments and financial service industries. I have worked around the world. I used to run credit card and loan portfolios for Barclays. I was chief marketing officer for Halifax Bank of Scotland and have done a lot of work with Visa and MasterCard, and for a while was on the board of MasterCard Europe. And so, you know, as cryptocurrency and blockchain started to evolve, my interest level started to go up. And then in 2017, had an opportunity to start teaching blockchain, the first blockchain course at the University of Colorado, and then subsequently sort of founded and am leading sort of the University of Colorado Blockchain Alliance. And so for me, knowing what the opportunity and the challenges are in financial services and payments, and then the broader opportunity around blockchain and cryptocurrency, got super excited to get in the space, and sort of, I think I've sort of fallen for it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, it's really great to connect with you, and even us. We just added MasterCard to our Blockchain Education Alliance, so we've seen a lot of growth. I want to get into some of the projects that you're currently working on at CU Boulder, or even the CU Blockchain Alliance. I think it's a really great initiative, bringing together all these different universities. So how are things in your region, and what are some interesting projects?
So, you know, I'm very fortunate I think in Colorado, it's a great ecosystem in terms of people that are collaborating and doing interesting work in blockchain and cryptocurrency. You know, Denver has really sort of drawn a lot of attention, a lot of interest between sort of Shapeshift and Salt and a number of other companies in the area. There's just this great ecosystem. So it's fantastic to be involved. We have a lot of participation across the learning institutions in Colorado. About a year and a half ago, started to get involved with C-Lab, which is an initiative that is the learning economy. Taylor Kendall and others are partnering with sort of the state of Colorado and the Department of Higher Education to start to look at how blockchain can be applied and facilitate better engagement across learning institutions in the state. This is being supported by the governor, which is getting a lot of attention and visibility, which is fantastic. And since then, we've been doing work with students and student groups across all universities and learning institutions in Colorado. So that's the University of Colorado, Colorado State, University of Denver. We have multiple community colleges that are sort of participating. And, you know, that for us is fantastic because, you know, one of the things we're trying to do there is not only be really interdisciplinary across all the student groups and involve people, whether they're designers, whether sociologists, philosophy majors, economic majors, or engineers, but get them involved in looking at the ecosystem and starting to figure out how we can solve some of the challenging problems that exist.
Yeah, and it's really great to hear you talk about the interdisciplinary nature. This is something you brought up before as well. I think for a lot of the students watching out there, what are some helpful pieces of advice or tips that you would give them in how to be more involved in this? It's great to hear that at Colorado, you kind of have a lot of the student interest and faculty and administrative support all supporting each other. This is not always the case everywhere, so it's great to hear that. But I always find talking with students, some of them are sometimes discouraged because they don't know enough.
Well, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is the general community is super collaborative. And so, to a certain extent, now that we're all virtual and all remote, there's a lot of great opportunities. I think it's fantastic what MouseBelt is doing and the visibility and really sort of connecting sort of the communities to get involved. And I think first and foremost for people is it would encourage them just to start to join meetups, watch things on YouTube and on the internet and get involved in conversations. I think that really leads to then sort of the opportunities to get involved in projects. And when I say projects, projects in general, people are looking for people that have all different backgrounds and play all different roles in trying to think about the feasibility, the viability of applications, doing the design, doing sort of the business cases, and even just doing the research. I mean, a lot of the early initiatives has all been built by engineers because they've been passionate about the tech. But one of the key barriers we have is actually making a lot of the solutions more usable and consumable by the audience that we really want them to be benefiting and to be helping. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for more consumer discovery work, opportunity for better user interface and experience design. There's the opportunity for really sort of then thinking about the business case and really what is the roadmap to bring something to life. So there's a lot of non-technical opportunities that I think if people raised their hand and they were proactive in reaching out and engaging with members of the community and people that are running projects, they would more often than not find sort of open arms in terms of getting them involved.
Yeah, and you've also mentioned in the past that the universities kind of provide a good sandbox environment in order to test a lot of things out and kind of mess up. Because when you go out there in the real world, quote unquote, working in industry or working on a lot of these tooling or software, it's still in the experimentation stage. And at that stage, it's a lot more serious. So I also think that at the university level, students can experiment, work with other companies in space. I really find it interesting, all the things you said about Colorado in terms of how collaborative the environment has been. Do you think there's anything specific about the region you're in terms of how you all are promoting entrepreneurship? What are some of the opportunities, I guess, in your region? Or do you think, there's some special attributes that might give you an edge when it comes to working on some larger blockchain initiatives? Is it kind of like a statewide thing? Is it just between universities right now? What do you see as the next level, and what are some interesting larger projects you want to work on?
Yeah. So I think it's a really, really, really good question and point. It's one of the things that drew me to Colorado. I had been living in the UK for 10 years and moved to Colorado about sort of 8 years ago. And one of the key elements was the environment and the ecosystem. And I think it really goes back to, Brad Feld and the Foundry Group, and even sort of Techstars and some of the early businesses that were successful in Colorado. And there's always been this great mentality and sort of this philosophy of giving first. And Jared Polis, who's now the governor, was a partner with Brad Feld in a lot of that early entrepreneurial activity. And I think people are really trying to continue to encourage that and cultivate that. And I think that really helps people. When you raise a hand and ask for help, you find people that are willing to help, and also is encouraging a lot of experimentation. And I think that there's a little bit of the Western frontier mindset as well, as people willing to try new stuff and figure out what works and what doesn't. And so one of the initiatives that I'm excited to be a part of is E2C2, which stands for Educational EdTech Collaboration Consortium. And we are really trying to bring together universities from across the state to help do an integrated and an orchestrated effort to research and prototype and deploy new technology within university ecosystems. And one of the reasons we're really excited about that is we've got about 250,000 students across campuses in Colorado. It gives us a really sort of large base to start to test multiple things simultaneously. We can go test voting, we can go test identity management, we can go test onboarding into wallets, and really start to understand what students struggle with, where it might work, where it might not work. And if we get it wrong, it's okay, right? I mean, we feel like it's this fantastic sandbox to not only be testing technology, but to be developing the skills of students who might want to do this as a career, and also exposing more students who will be the consumers of the future. So it's not a foreign technology. It's not something they're afraid of, but they start to more intimately understand it and appreciate the benefits of it. For as it matures, they will be more readily to adopt it down the road.
Yeah, I really love how you said testing multiple times, because I think a lot of conversations in the industry are great, but I'm seeing at the university level, the way we can move things forward is just by experimenting and doing, and hopefully a lot of the industry members out there want to support more students, because I think just like how the internet was developed, as a research project among universities. I've seen the same kind of movement, also founding a student group myself a couple of years ago. So do you think that because of the environment right now, are there any changes you all are making in terms of how you're collaborating? Are you thinking all virtual? What do you think the new opportunities that opens up with too? I think even just talking to you here is a great example of how, although we're far away, we can still work on great projects together.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. There's no doubt the current environment is challenging. I think it's creating a lot of interesting opportunities, and if not awareness, at least from. So at the University of Colorado, I teach both. I teach venture planning in the business school, and then I teach blockchain in the engineering school. And I'm trying to do the best I can of teaching classes in a hybrid nature, so that we can facilitate face-to-face collaboration in a safe way. But most everything is virtual, and there's a couple things that I think is actually good about that. I think that is going to be the future for students in terms of both getting in jobs and engaging with teams. And so there's some really important life skills and professional skills for us all to learn about how to do it better, and how for us to engage with others. Secondly, I think it really forces everybody to think about how do we make teams work in a virtual, both synchronous and asynchronously, so that everybody can be valued, they can contribute, and things can run efficiently. And so I think everybody's learning as we go at a rapid pace about how to do that effectively. And a byproduct of that is the ability then to integrate team members all over the world. And I was a part of a consensus hackathon bounty challenge last year. And one of the elements that we put in the criteria was how diverse was your team? And they were, it was actively encouraging people to find interdisciplinary partners, but also global partners. And I really would encourage people to do that, because I think the more we lean into that, we will continue to learn ourselves by doing about sort of the sort of cultural differences that need to be bridged to make this technology more effective, to understand how we can monitor and sort of get compensated or recognized for the work we do on a variety of different projects. And so I actually think the global nature and the global opportunity of being virtual will further help accelerate our bumping into walls and challenges around the applications that we're seeking to develop, and hopefully accelerate then our progress in fixing them.
And yeah, I mean, that's the way to see it, right? As big of a transition as everyone has made in all the different industries, I like how you highlighted kind of the struggles that we're going through is ultimately going to give us good lessons, and maybe even allow us to create new models of how to work together. Currently, on the MouseBelt University side, we're also experimenting with ways that we can bring students in on projects kind of at an at-will basis. Maybe some students are coding, and then if they have less time, another student kind of picks back up. We really want to focus on giving students a lot of real world experience, and that kind of segues into The next topic that I kind of want you to give your advice on, students that are interested in pursuing a career in blockchain, what are some helpful resources and some helpful ways to get started? I know that you're also involved in C4, so maybe you can discuss a little bit more about what that is. Even me, myself, I actually got my certified Bitcoin certificate a couple of years ago. So I can say that it definitely helped me in terms of just, I'm not a Bitcoin expert by any means, but I do think that credentialing is an important step in establishing a baseline, especially in an industry where uh, our rules, regulations are not completely set in stone. You know, they're so different.
Yep. So no, I completely agree. So yeah, I've been involved for just about a year now with sort of C4, which stands for the Cryptocurrency Certification Consortium, and it is an organization that is really promoting certification around Bitcoin and helping sort of establish a base level, both understanding as well as set of skills. And so I sit on the board that is helping develop and advise and evolve the Certified Bitcoin Professional certification and exam to make that a more of an entry point. So that's a great resource for people to check out. There's training materials, there's information around both what the technology behind Bitcoin, how it's used, and as well as the potential. And I always think that's a great place to start, because if we all have at least a common language and an understanding of the technology and potential, then we can start to explore other elements of how it can be applied. And Roshan, I want to go back and touch on one thing. I think one of the areas that people can get involved in, and actually it's being driven by the remote nature, is working on product management skills, right? So one of the things that we see across a lot of cryptocurrency and blockchain projects is that, especially with the remote nature, we need better product management. We need product management to help not only determine what to work on, what the user requirements should and could be, but also the management of the ticket, so that with developers spread across around the world, everybody can be more efficient without having the ability to walk over to someone's desk and resolve an issue. You know, we are all having to rethink our systems that we use and the processes that we put into place. And so I think a great way for, people that do have product management skills and want to get involved, there's a big need for that. And so that's an area where, little bit of online certification, whether it's CBP or others. There's great free resources on YouTube through MouseBelt University and other partners in the space. There's a great way to get a base knowledge, and then I would start asking questions. I think we talked about earlier, get involved with projects, reach out to user groups. There's a wealth of people that are working to do sort of experimentations. There's a company in Boulder that was started here, Gitcoin, which is a great example of where you can go do work. You can earn sort of ether for it, and sort of really start to engage in different projects sort of along the way as you build up your skills and experience.
Yeah, I didn't know that was actually started in Colorado. I'm a big fan of that project because it's like micro tasks. You can earn some ETH, and a lot of organizations or even people, I've seen them use it for bug bounties or even just improving their systems. And I think it's a great incentive mechanisms. And incentives, I think, are definitely important in the industry. I always have a lot of students even ask about, why would they want to work in blockchain? Like, what are the opportunities? Many of them don't really even know. I just want to ask you one last question about C4. Have you all worked with any universities in the past as far as larger credentialing initiatives? I've come across a lot of universities who want to issue their members a blockchain certificate, something kind of proving that they're learning. Even us, as you mentioned, we have 3 different courses on MouseBelt University that anyone can take. And we're also trying to explore whether we can give students a better track record that they can show. Because I do think that also is very important, in the traditional technology industry. There's certifications for literally everything, right? From Oracle to AWS. In blockchain and the cryptocurrency space, there are certifications, but I would say on the flip side, the standard industry members are not familiar with what they should trust, right? That's why I think C4 is a great resource. But yeah, if you could talk a little bit about, are there opportunities for universities to work with C4 on a larger scale, or even, can student orgs reach out to you? Some of these student orgs have many members.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're definitely from a C4 perspective interested in engaging and talking with universities and student groups to help sort of find ways to get more people through the certification. So feel free to reach out to me at hunter.albright@colorado.edu. And also Jessica Larson is the managing director of C4. So they would be happy to have a conversation with either universities or student groups. That is something that the whole purpose of the organization is to get that information, get sort of the certification and the exam out to a wider group of people, so that whether you want to be an informed consumer or you want to be a participant in the ecosystem from building or managing or running applications, I think we all benefit by everybody increasing our understanding and sort of view of what the potential of the technology is.
Okay, great. We'll definitely let some of the students in our program know more about that, and we can definitely continue those conversations. Now comes one of my favorite questions that we've been asking everyone. The theme of this month's virtual conference, which is disrupting the system. So my question to you is, what do you see as being actually disruptive in terms of the blockchain or cryptocurrency industry in general? And what I mean by that is, what specific projects or use cases do you think will be the most disruptive, like going forward next 6 months to a year?
Yeah. So I think there's two that I'm really interested about, and in terms of the time period we're in and what the opportunity is. And so the first one is machine-to-machine transactions. And so I'm doing work with the IEEE on transactive energy. And I just think that with sort of cryptocurrencies and blockchain in general, will be such innovation over the next 5 to 10 years in terms of how we manage micropayments and pay and compensate both machines and people for work that is done down to the millisecond. And so I don't even think we really understand what that opportunity is going to create. So it's fun to be having students look at, how we pay for energy or insurance at a really small scale. And then how, if somebody has a piece of code or has something that is used and they create an asset, that they get compensated and recognized for it. So that whole ecosystem I find fascinating and really exciting to be exploring what the standards should be, what the architectures need to be, how we make current technology interoperable with sort of the blockchain systems and solutions people are trying to design. And then going back to how we solve the human problem of getting people to sort of adopt and start to use some of the technology and overcome some of the fear, which is one of the key barriers we have to overcome for almost all the applications. And the second one is fan engagement, right? We have, because of the pandemic, everybody is remote. Yeah. Sports have been dramatically hit, and that's really changed how teams interact with their fans, how athletes interact with their fans, and how sort of influencers interact with their fans. And one of the projects that's super fun to be associated with and part of is help start a company called Eon XI with Spencer Dinwiddie and Sherrod Harrington. Within that, one of the projects we have is where Spencer has tokenized his contract, and he's allowing fans to participate in his career. And I think that's a great example of where, that's more on the financial side with a security token, but there's a lot of really cool applications on the utility token side that's allowing, almost like, think about it as being able to accumulate sort of air miles like points where you could redeem it with the fan of your, or the influencer or athlete of your choice. And it might be betting on plays with another fan, and you're earning these sort of tokens, and you get to redeem it for a signed jersey, or you get to redeem it for sort of an online Zoom meeting with the athlete. And so I just think, right now, a lot of effort and thinking is going into how we engage with an influencer, with fans and fans to fans on a remote basis. But as soon as the venues open back up, we're going to be in a position where now, if you and I are watching a game online, or sort of outside the venue, we're able to engage with fans inside the venue. And so the breadth of which we can bring that sort of courtside, pitch side, field side seat I think is going to greatly expand and create sort of a lot of fun things to work on, but a lot of great sort of opportunity as well.
And yes, Spencer and the whole him tokenizing his contract has definitely made waves in the news. A lot of talk about even the NBA doing things like the NBA Top Shot, launching that project. So I'm really excited to maybe even speak with Spencer sometime, or learn more about why he chose to do that, because he did fight the NBA, and there was a lot of uphill battle there in terms of this new thing, right? Like I would say he kind of tokenized himself in a way, or like what you said.
Yeah,
what you said, you can grow with him and invest with him. You're gonna say something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you're right. I mean, he's overcome a lot of struggles to get it out there. I mean, he's passionate about it, and he really loves tech. I think he always refers to himself as sort of a tech guy with a jump shot. So it's sort of, I mean, I think his passion is technology. He just happens to play basketball.
Got it. And I think for a lot of the students out there listening to this right now, really great to talk with Hunter about some of these projects and see how he's involved in this way, because a lot of these things are very familiar in terms of everyone knows the NBA, and there are real world projects that are unlocking new potential, investing in a player's success. Maybe for the people out there that follow a lot of sports, everyone always, kind of likes to brag a bit when they find an athlete or a star kind of earlier on, but there's not really any way to gain any benefit from that. It's just bragging rights. It would be very cool to have more of a financial incentive, or even something kind of on your portfolio. And I think that's what blockchain also enables, like creating that track record in a variety of different ways. Like, look, maybe you're invested in Spencer's contract, and like he has a great season. To kind of end things off, what is the number one thing that you're excited about in terms of the next use case? Are you going to keep doubling down on working with like these utility tokens, tokenizing contract? Are you going to go towards gaming, or what's the number one way? And how can people reach out to you, or even the CU blockchain aligned, to kind of learn more about what you're doing? If you have any events coming up or any call to action you want to put out there, I'll give you the stage for that.
Oh, I thank you. No, so a couple of things I'm really excited about in the near term is the continued collaboration with the state of Colorado around sort of transcripts and certificates, and really helping sort of higher education. I think we will overcome, and we will encounter and overcome a lot of challenges within that sort of solution set that has a lot of applications more broadly. And so that's exciting. It's a great group of people to be involved with. I am really interested in sort of the utility token applications. I think that one of the things that will drive adoption will be entertainment and media related applications. And so the utility tokens to fill in sort of this interaction with other fans, with athletes and influencers, I think is a great place to learn a lot about onboarding new people onto platforms, the smart contracts that are required, as well as then the speed and the scalability of the technology behind it. So I think, and students like that, right? So it's fun to work on those projects with students, because everybody gets passionate about it. They're excited. So, looking for that. If people want to reach out, I'd love to connect on about possible projects. I'm at hunter.albright@colorado.edu. I'm at Hunter Albright on Twitter and Instagram. And then the University of Colorado Blockchain Alliance website is cublockchainalliance.com, where you can sign up for our mailing list and get more information there as well.
Great. Hunter, thank you so much for taking the time early in the morning for you. It was really great speaking to you and learning more about all the interesting initiatives you have. Looking forward to collaborating more with you. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll let you all get back to another Reimagine segment. Thank you, Hunter.
Very good. Thank you, Roshan. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.